Matt for MC Garage here.
Yeah, that's my line, motherfucker. What's going on, YouTube? Matt from GarageMC here. We got a special guest in the house today. My X quad, the 426EX that Darren here purchased. Darren, what are we doing with this quad today?
New shocks, rear,
front shocks, rear shock,
change,
and an oil change. I got to show him what a ratchet is and what sizes you need to use on the damn quad. This way he doesn't blow it up, because even though his warranty's up, since there was no warranty on
I got extended warranty on that.
No, you don't get no freaking extended warranty, buddy.
I got another year and a half.
Yeah, no. How long?
Year and a half.
No, listen, bud. Listen. Warranty's over, guys. Anyway, I'm going to show you guys those shocks that I bought for the other one. I'm going to show you what modifications you got to do to fit shocks that fit a 400EX onto a 400EX. That's right, you guys do modifications to them. Similar to my video putting the 450R shocks on these, but here we go. I didn't show you guys how to do that. I just showed you what I did in that video. So let's get into it. Stick around, pull up a seat. Taking 400EX shocks off the front of a 400EX, you got 14mm bolt and nut at the top, and you can like follow me down here too there. Watch all the shit I'm pointing to. So you got your 14mm down at the bottom, 14 at top. It's a nut and bolt, 14. That's what it looks like, obviously, when it's still on the quad. Here's the 450R shocks that I mounted on here, and this is what I'm talking about. If you guys can see where I did this to the front here, we got to do the same thing to the aftermarket shocks that say they fit a 400EX, but this is why they don't, because you can see where it's not rounded off like I did here. That actually, over here, Darren, that actually hits this part of the frame here, so it prevents you from getting it in there. Like, it'll go in, but the shock will be on this type of an angle here. It won't let it go to full extension like it's at now, because it hits that part of the frame. All right, so here's the aftermarket shock. These are the Predator Stage 4 shocks. They got, what is this? Compression, preload, and rebound. Well, rebound, preload, and compression. Sorry, there's like 25 clicks on each one of these knobs. But if you come over here, you can see how they're very similar, the eyelet, to a 450R. Same thickness, everything. So the same modification has to be done to these shocks that say that they fit a 400EX. They don't, because of this reason. So I'm going to get the bench grinder set up right here, guys. This is just a 6-inch bench grinder. You can get it at, take a guess, Harbor Freight. And these are Scotch-Brite pads that I bought from Cameron Niamala, or Prime MX. This place right here, this is his website. You guys can find him on YouTube under his name, Cameron Niamala. Not sponsored. There's no affiliate marketing going on with this. I'm just letting you guys know what products I use. So let me get set up, and I'll show you guys how we're going to figure out where to notch the top of the shock. Guys, so this is the shock we're going to designate for the left side of the quad. The reason it's going to be for the left side, I'm only going to take off only what's needed on this inside corner where it hits that bracket on the frame here. Obviously, if you were to take this off and put it on the other side, you would have to do the other side of it as well. You guys will see what I'm saying as we go, but here's how I did the modification. So I have the part where I'm going to notch this down a little bit marked out just for a visual purpose, so you guys can see what I'm talking about right here. So I'm just going to come over here. They have, this is like a very rough grit Scotch-Brite, and this one's for more like polishing. Like, you could take casting marks out with this one, and this one I use for if I'm going to polish aluminum. This is great to get down to a good surface, but very simple what we're going to do here. Now you can see how slow that's taking it. Now if we come over to the other wheel here, this one's good for getting down quicker to what you're trying to achieve. Be careful not to hit other stuff with this, because it will obviously damage the finish, but that's not obvious. And you can get fancy and kind of round it off and make it, you know, you could even do the other side too. This way they're interchangeable from right to left if, you know, that's what you want to do, or to make it look more uniform. But when this is in the quad, you don't even see this. It's deep inside that bracket there. You know, obviously under the plastics too, you don't see it. But this is definitely what's needed to be done. And I will show you guys a comparison of the way this sits and the way it sits without the modification done to it. After that slight modification, it slid right in. What I mean by when you don't do that, it's not at the angle that it's at. When you don't do that, it prevents the shock from going in there. So instead of being at this angle here, it would be like that because it doesn't let it have full travel like it's supposed to. So this is like full extension if you do a wheelie, anything like that. If it wasn't notched out, it would stop the wheel from fully extending and articulating the way it should. We're about to switch this one out now. One thing to note, these shocks come with a pack of these aluminum spacers right here. It needed two, one on each side on the bottom. The top does not require. So now I'm going to take this off, and I'll actually mock the other one in there so you guys can see the angle I'm talking about and what I mean by it. So without doing the modification to the eyelet of the shock, and you only have to do it to the top eyelet. When this is in here, like I was trying to explain to you guys, when you put this in here, that's as far as it'll let it go because of the way that this bottom bracket is bent. And you'll see, I didn't do this yet. You see that little nick right there? That's the part that hits the frame and prevents this shock from going to full extension. It just completely stops it. You can get the bolt in, but it's not going to allow it to do that. So now I'm going to do the modification to this one, and we'll get it together, and I'll show you guys after it's on the quad. We also have to install the rear shock too, so that's more straightforward, but it does have a remote reservoir. We're going to figure out where we want to clamp that down. If you guys have a better idea where to clamp these down, make sure you drop it in the comments. Let me know where you mounted your rear remote reservoir on your quad. Yo guys, something to note real quick, those two bottom spacers, it's easier if you put them to the shock and then wiggle it in and get the bottom bolt in first rather than hanging it from the top bolt and then squeezing those in. Ask me how I know. But let me finish bolting this in and then we will get to the rear shock. Here's both front shocks on the quad. Actually looks really good. It matches the quad perfectly. Has you know, obviously the black and the anodized red and everything like that. I think it looks a lot better. How they perform is still up in the air. We're gonna have to ride it and, you know, figure out all the adjustments and stuff. We're not gonna do that in this video. This is just how to modify these and get them on. This also applies to if you buy stock TRX400R shocks. Same modification like I showed you guys. Here's a top eyelet. Obviously this one would be for the left side of the quad. This one's for the right. Same exact principle as this. I did have a video about 450R shocks, but I never showed you guys, like I said, what part to you know, grind down on the eyelet of the top eyelet of the front shock. But let me get to disassembling the rear shock, and we'll start getting that in there and figure out where we want to mount the remote reservoir. Well, I have the 426 here. Darren's nosy ass was looking around my shelf of parts for the 465 and seen the brand new ODI lock-on grips I have. So real quick, I'm just going to show you guys how you assemble these and how easy they are to actually put on the quad. It's a pretty basic thing, but if you guys are interested, here it is. What comes in the pack is you get your grip like this right here, and then it comes with, obviously, ×2. You get the clip-in part for the end of the grips. You get 2 of these locking collars, and these locking collars have little notches in each side. It also comes with the stainless steel Allen head screws that go into the locking collars. These are a 2.5 millimeter for the size Allen key that you're going to use. Let's see if I can get you guys a view of that there. Stupid camera. Well, it's 2.5 millimeter. That's the size for those. I just go ahead and take the grip. See the little notches there like I just showed you. I usually look at which direction I'm going to put the grips on. So you have the cutout here for where your thumb goes so you don't chafe. I like to make them match on both sides. So this side will get the screw facing down, so like this here. So you just get one side locked in there and then push it on. Clicks on like that. And then same for the other side. get it started, and then click it on like that. Now let's go over to the quad and we will slide these on after I get the screws or bolts started in. Just get them started. Don't screw them all the way into where it starts cranking down on the clamp yet. I just get them set this way they're already there. And I had already removed the fly racing grips that I had on the quad originally when I first built it. So I'll just get these set. Now let's go over to the quad and slide these on, and then we'll put the beauty caps or whatever you want to call them on over there. Over here at the quad to put these on with these locking collars that come on here. Like I said, I like to line up the notch that's in the guard here on the grip. This way it doesn't chafe your thumb. That's what it's obviously made for. Loosened up the front brake reservoir to slide it. Those were two 8mm, and on the bottom of this billet thumb throttle, actually this was a present to Darren. I gave him this for the quad after he purchased it. Put it on for him. They were just Allen head bolts. I switched everything over to Allen head on the quad. You know, like 95% of it's all Allen head. Some stuff's not. But loosen those up and get them out of the way. And then this just simply slides on. Your beauty cap or end cap, whatever you want to call it, for the ODI lock-on grips. Obviously it would go this way, you know, O, then that's a D, and then that's I, if that's something that you're even worried about. But you want to see how far you can go in before the cap hits the end of the handlebars. Let's actually double check that. If I can even get it back off there. We'll just mark it like this. Yeah, we're all the way on. Just for some reason didn't feel like it went all the way on to me, so I just wanted to double check. We'll just line up where our thumb mark is, and then just crank down on these. Do the inside one first. Oh, somebody's out riding. I can't see what it is from here. And then do the outer one. It's very simple, guys. I just thought I'd throw it in the video for you in case you were looking at a set of these grips. They're really nice. They're actually really soft too. It's like it's a nice compound once they're locked on. I mean, I didn't even really crank down on those, but it's pretty tight on there. So let me get this all. Actually, I'll line this stuff back up when I put the quad back down and I'm sitting on it. And anyway, I got to take the rear skid plate off to get to the rear shock, and we'll put the aftermarket shock with the remote reservoir on now. I think I found a pretty good spot to put the bracket for the remote reservoir also. Got to take the rear swing arm skid plate off. These are one of those eBay kits where you get the whole like front skid plate and swing arm skid plate for like 120 bucks. These things bend real easily. As you can see, this had to be continuously bent back because it was rubbing the rotor. And you also need to put spacers in to drop this down from the swing arm because it hits the brake rotor like the minute you bolt it on. Let's see if I can get you guys an angle. You can see how this is like, I don't know if you can see the way that red light is like bowing, like it's bent here all the way down around this bracket. Since this needs spacers anyway, I have an idea on what to do with this after I straighten it back out, because I'm going to while I have it off the quad. Just how I am. I don't feel right bolting something that's bent back onto the quad. Doesn't really make sense if you're going to have it off anyway. But I do need to take this off to get to the rear shock bolt that goes through the linkage. Also, if you guys haven't seen the video I just posted the other day, rebuilding a ATV linkage specifically for a 400EX, but you know, it pretty much goes for most linkages that you would have to rebuild. So to make it easier to take your shock out, same thing as the front, 14mm nut and bolt at the top, 14mm nut and bolt at the bottom. That's why I had to take the skid plate off, because it's completely encompassing the linkage where the bolt for the rear is, or the bottom nut and bolt for the rear shock, I mean. Also had to take the airbox out with the snorkel and the intake boot. Just makes it easier. Well, I mean, you kind of have to. You can't really get the shock out with the airbox and everything here. So let me get this out of the way, and then we'll start mocking the new one into place. Here is the 400EX rear shock to the new Stage 4 Predator rear shock. It's a lot more straightforward than putting the front ones in. Should go directly in. If I do come across a problem or notice something, I will let you guys know, but just a reversal of what we just did. Put the shock back in, nuts and bolts back in. There it is, guys. That literally went in like 2 seconds. Was not as hard as the front. So these rear shocks do work just fine as far as bolting them up without any modifications. As far as the remote reservoir, I think we're going to mount it something like here. I'll show you guys the bracket. Sorry, I just had a fly land on me again. Fucking flies out here drive me nuts. I don't know why. Here's the bracket that it comes with. There's these things that the town is telling us to start kill every time we see them. Anyway, here's the brackets, guys, that come with it. This obviously holds the reservoir, and it has 2 mounting bolts here that go to these 2 holes on this plate. The holes for this are pretty damn close to where the toolkit gets bolted to. Actually, they're pretty dead on. I might have to hog out one just a little bit, like it's just slightly off, but it might just go right on. So that'll be sitting like that. And then obviously this will get mounted to the bracket, and then the reservoir will be here. This way there's easy access to the compression adjustment knob on the remote reservoir. So let me get this thing bolted up, and I'll pick back up with you guys in a second. If there's anything obviously that had to be done extra, I'll let you guys know. So I'm all in to the point where I can start putting the airbox in. This is how I chose to mount it. It's where the factory toolbox goes. I think it looks good. It's on the same plane as the exhaust, and it matches. So it kind of like balances it out. Obviously that's all a personal preference, whatever you want to do. I'm going to zip tie the braided line up to the top of the subframe, make sure it's not in the way of anything, and put the airbox in, and I'll get back to you guys as soon as I get this all put back together and the plastic's back on. This bracket was pretty damn close. I had to hog out the one hole just a little bit for it to go. I put Allen head bolts back here a little bit longer in case they back out. You can see it before they fall out. Also blue Loctite on all these, and I put lock washers on the smaller ones because the threads aren't that deep or long on the bolt. So we got all the stuff put back on the quad. Anytime you're working on your suspension, don't crank the bolts home like with the quad jacked up. Wait till the weight of the quad is back on everything and on the ground, then tighten all your bolts, like A-arms, suspension, pivot bolts, anything like that that pivots on an axis. But quad looks good, man. Looks good with these shocks on here. Let's check it out. So that's it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. If it wasn't for you guys, my subscribers, even just the viewers who haven't subscribed, I still appreciate you guys. Every time I get a new subscriber and comments, and especially positive comments from people, it just pumps me to keep doing more stuff with you guys. You know, lately I haven't really had that much energy just with the humidity and everything, but like every day I'm like, man, I got to get out there. I got to make a video for my peoples. So, you know, if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. It doesn't cost you anything. It's free. Like I said before, I just started a Patreon. It's not needed, but if you guys, you know, would like to show appreciation for what I do and want to be a part of the channel, go check it out. We're on there as GarageMC. capital G, capital MC, no spaces. So one word, GarageMC. There's 3 tier levels to choose from. I think the lowest one's like $3 a month or something like that. It was like the lowest figure I could possibly pick for Patreon. I tried to put just $1, but they were like, no, you should start at $3 for the first tier. Then I think it's like $5 for the second tier, and I forget what the third tier was, like $8 or $10. But there's a lot of extra perks, guys. We are going to be doing giveaways. If you don't think we're going to, obviously I got to get to a certain amount of subscribers and start getting a little money out of doing YouTube, because I'm not rich, guys. I work my ass off for everything. All these tools in here I bought all from working my ass off. All these parts I buy from working my ass off. I don't work in an air-conditioned office. I'm a plumber. I bust my ass on the daily and then come home and work on quads and make videos to share what I'm doing with you guys. So like I said, I appreciate each and every one of you, even if you're not subscribed, just for viewing. Other ways to help out the channel, obviously, is throw me a thumbs up. That helps the channel huge. The video, especially, that you thumbs up, and commenting does a lot as well. So if you guys don't mind, even if it's just a simple comment like, hey, cool, or good job, or love your videos, or go F yourself, I don't care. If that's how you feel, put it down there. You're entitled to your opinion. Just be ready for the opinion that I'm entitled to, too. So, thanks for joining me in the garage today, guys. I'll see you in the next one.